Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here with us. Today we have myself, Comfort Rami. I'm the host for today, and I've got my lovely special guest here, Chou. Chou has got an amazing foundation, and as always, we want to hear from the person themselves. So I'll give Chou an opportunity to tell us a bit about herself, and then tell us a bit about her foundation that she founded. So over to you, Chou.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for being here. So my name is Chou, and I am the founder of Grace and Hope Consulting, where we empower people to achieve mental and emotional wellness, reach their full potential, and live fulfilling lives. I am a mental health and diversity consultant, and that's kind of what I bring to the table. It's helping people identify those things that impact their mental and emotional wellness, help them figure out what tools and strategies they need in order to create what we call a wellness plan for now and later. And so prevention is always the best medicine, right? So when somebody's already in crisis, we prevent what had happened from occurring again. But I also do a lot of work with organizations what's going in and giving training and workshops around depression, anxiety, stress management. That's a huge one for all of us. Work-life balance, just to help people again, be all they can be and be well, in mind, body, and soul, right? And so, because that's important. Often we don't prioritize on mental health, now realizing that holds everything. If your mental health is not where it needs to be, everything else in your life crumbles, from your physical health to your relationships, your finances, everything. So it's important for all of us, whether it's at home, in the community, faith-based organizations, or civic groups, to start normalizing this conversation about mental health so that we can all be well and continue to contribute in healthy ways.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that. I see that quite a few people have joined us here today, and thank you so much wherever you've joined us from around the world. I'm sure some people might be morning, some people might be afternoon, some people might be evening. Irrespective of what time zone you're in, we very much appreciate your presence here. And hopefully the topic that we're going to talk about today, we'll all be able to contribute. If you have a question, a comment, anything that you're not quite sure about, please put in the comment section and we'll try and deal with it as we go along. So today's topic, we're talking about Black men and mental health. Today's topic is Black men and mental health. And I'm a woman, so I'm a female, so I wouldn't necessarily know the 100% what men go through. But I'm also a mental health practitioner. So from a professional perspective, and even from having male siblings and male family members, I'm sure there's a thing or two I may be able to contribute. And I'm sure Chou as well, although she's not a biological male, I'm sure she's got quite a lot to contribute to the topic. So as we talk, be with us here. Bring your contributions, bring your questions. We want to hear from everyone. When we say Black men and their mental health in terms of depression, how do you understand it? When we say Black men and depression, what comes into mind? When we say Black men and depression, have you ever experienced it before? Do you know somebody who has experienced it before? Have you, had encounter with somebody who has experienced it before? Let us hear from all of you on here with us today. Thank you very much. So Chou, to begin with, I would want us to discuss when we say depression, generally speaking about depression, when we say depression, what comes into mind, or what's your understanding of the mental health condition depression? How would you define it kind of in your own words, or, what you've learned so far?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say with everything, there's always a continuum, right? A lot of us, we throw that word of when I'm depressed. Maybe you're just sad. You're not actually quite depressed,
Mm,
right? There's a difference here, and there's times where it's naturally, human, to be sad. If
mm,
if you go for a job and if it doesn't go as you expected, the natural reaction would be sad about it. You'll be disappointed. So I want to start just there to kind of normalize that our emotions are okay. There's
mm,
nothing wrong with feeling, things that we feel, the emotions that we feel. But so that just kind of laying that blanket statement there so that we kind of get a foundation that it's okay, even if you are at the point where you are depressed. Often you see this across social media. It's okay not to be okay. It's part of the human experience. Acknowledging that it's nothing does not make you weak. It does not make you less than a human being. It makes you actually a full human being who has a full range of emotions, full range of feelings, a full range of challenges, and your internal and external being adjust accordingly. Right. So I just wanted to start with that. But when we talk about clinical depression, for someone to have what with major depressive disorder or clinical depression, not one, it's very common, but it is a serious mood disorder. So again, keeping that in mind, you're not alone. We'll talk about some stats in a little bit. You realize that it's more prevalent than you realize. You'll be maybe surprised to know that. But when someone is dealing with, we're talking about that clinical depression, it's this persistent feeling of sadness, hopelessness, and loss of interest in things that you enjoy the most. And that's kind of the common theme with depression. But they also come with physical symptoms. A lot of
mm,
people with depression will have digestive issues. A lot of people with depression will have chronic pain. And here is just one example why the serotonin that we all need to balance our mood is actually created in your guts. That's why the gut is called your second brain. So
mm,
when you're not feeling well emotionally, or when your body's not making enough serotonin, creating enough of it from the gut to be able to activate every other being of your neurons in your brain, it makes sense that you get belly aches. Makes sense that you get loose stools, and so it's not uncommon. But in order to be diagnosed with clinical depression, usually you have to have symptoms for at least 2 weeks. you
okay.
know, because something will happen. So often people have what we call situational depression. Something happened that's sad, we feel sad for a few days and then we're feeling okay. But if for 2 weeks you're having the depressed mood, the loss of interest, and other symptoms like people will be, cannot sleep or sleep too much. Some people will be eating a lot or not eating enough. So either gaining or losing weight, without even trying, and still have a lot of the physical, aches and pain that your family doctor, cannot identify where the pain is coming from. Excuse me. Or you're having a lot of fatigues. A lot of people with depression have this lethargy. It's like your body just like, I cannot get out of bed. And it's not just all in the head, because literally your whole body feels like it's shutting down on you. That's what depression feels like. But the one thing that depression is, maybe most debilitating part of think of depression, is those feelings of worthlessness. It's like feeling like you're just not good enough. That there's nothing you can do, to be good or better, right? And to
Right.
just you have this inner, sense of just being inadequate, right? And then you feel guilt about things that sometimes are not even your fault.
Mm-hmm.
So when I work with people, I say, well, that is depression talking to you. So we kind of start identifying what things are coming from depression, what things are truly what you want or you believe or you trust to be true, right? Because depression will, it will affect how you think, how you feel, and how you live your life.
Yeah, yeah.
But all the symptoms, in order to be diagnosed with clinical depression, you have to have at least 5 of those, 5 or more, what I just mentioned here, for at least 2 weeks. You might have one or two here things happening. That's okay. It happens. Life happens. Sometimes life hits us hard, and we need some time to adjust. But
Yeah.
when we talk about that clinical depression, the symptoms that I mentioned, you have to have at least 5 or more of those, and for at least 2 weeks to get a clinical diagnosis of depression.
Thank you so much, Chou. You've made an amazing introduction to our topic today. We're talking about Black men and depression. And I think earlier on I mentioned about we are two biological females on the line, and somebody be like asking why are two women talking about Black men and depression. So it's only right that we have a mixture. So we've got a man here with us who I'm going to introduce shortly. He just come on. He's called Sir Royce Briales. Sir Royce is the co-founder of Welcome to Fatherhood. Welcome to Fatherhood, which is an amazing charity and foundation that's helping Black men get in touch with their mental health, Black men navigate fatherhood and navigate parenting. So I'll give him an opportunity to introduce himself briefly about why he's passionate about Black men and mental health, and then we'll continue the discussion. Over to you, Sir Royce.
Yes, thank you, Comfort, for the opportunity to be joining you guys. To give you kind of an introduction of myself, again, Sir Royce, co-founder of Welcome to Fatherhood. Me and my co-founder, Dr. Raheem, we started Welcome to Fatherhood back in 2016. I was actually expecting my first son, so it was real stressful times for me. But during that time, we were meeting to discuss different business ventures because we always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. And we kept talking about fatherhood, like throughout our conversations. We kept bringing up, man, what do you expect? Like, how did you, go through your experience? Because he had kids already at that point. So, let's look into fatherhood, doing something for fatherhood, like a nonprofit. And literally, I went home and Googled like fatherhood in Chicago, and pretty much got like 1 to 2 results on pages on Google. And it wasn't really a lot. And I Googled motherhood. It was a lot more times 10 the organizations that were for women. And I'm like, wow, there's a need. So at that point, we just kind of got started. I thought of the idea, the name actually that night too. It kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I thought about WTF as the acronym, Welcome to Fatherhood, WTF. And I laughed because it kind of hit me like, oh, that's a good, like a double entendre. Because a lot of times when we do become fathers, we think like, man, WTF, what do I expect? So that's when we got started. We've been doing them ever since. So again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you guys.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sir Royce. If you've just joined us today, we're talking about Black men and depression on here. This very platform is about promoting Black men, Black mental health, promoting Black mental health in the context of increasing awareness, increasing education, increasing accessibility to services, and normalizing the fact that we cannot struggle with mental health at some point in our life. Research shows that 1 in 4 of us will experience a mental health condition at some point in a 1-year cycle. And at the moment, we count 13 people so far watching with us. So you can imagine at least 5 or so of us who experience mental health condition at some point. And being from the Black community, often we experience disadvantage in so many forms and shapes that can impact on our mental health. So thank you for making the time to be with us, Sir Royce. And please put comments, questions in the chat box, the comment section, and we'll read them as we go along. So Sir Royce, just before you came on, we're talking about just generally what depression is and what depression symptoms, generally speaking, can look like in anybody, whether male, female, Black, white, We just want to get a generic understanding of what depression looks like before we delve deeper into how it can manifest in Black men. So have you got anything to share on that? What can depression look like, generally speaking?
Yeah, I think it varies from person to person. I'm in Chicago, so we experience a lot of seasonal depression, if you will. We're not getting enough sun because it's cloudy in the winter, or we just don't go outside because it's cold outside. So, so yeah, just from that fact alone, just not being able to get enough sunlight, it could be environmental. It could be more than just I'm having a bad day. So, to kind of answer your question, it would depend on the person and what they're going through, not just mentally, but physically, even spiritually, if they're really into spirituality. So it could be all encompassing. So it's really important to have a open dialogue with someone, to talk to someone, feel those bad moods or those, when you have those bad days consistently. So I think that's really important.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sir Royce. For me, in terms of contributing to the question of what is depression, being a mental health worker, one of the things I understand by what depression is that it's a type of mood disorder that affects the person's behavior, their thoughts, their feelings, which Joe mentioned earlier, and it comes to cause the person to feel this persistent feeling of not being enough, persistently feeling like they're not contributing to their life or their community, persistently feeling like they don't belong, extreme sadness that never goes away. Um, Somebody described it as like having a black cloud over you persistently, always, and that black cloud never clearing for maybe the sunshine to come. So depression is a type of mood disorder that often it starts like a low mood. Maybe today you're not feeling so great in terms of your mood, and maybe tomorrow you feel okay, the next day you don't. But when that low mood becomes persistently low, where you are constantly struggling with being happy or engaging with life, irrespective of the external stimuli, then we are starting to lean towards depression. So as you're listening to us, as we're having this discussion, let us hear from you. What is your experience of depressive mood? Some people can be tearful, some people can feel numb, some people can self-isolate and withdraw from society and their family. Some people lose pleasure in the things that they used to enjoy. Some people get easily upset. Some people end up feeling guilty or worthlessness, and some people become incredibly self-conscious of what they do, what they think, what other people think of them. And I feel like it's a mental health condition that it's incredibly debilitating because it causes the person to lose all sense of their worth and their ability to do anything. And it's important that we're having this discussion today. So let us hear from you as we're talking. Bring your questions. So as we're talking about Black men and depression, now I want us to touch on briefly, this idea of the strong Black man. What is the strong Black man? What does that look like? And then we'll relate that to depression. What is a strong Black man? I'll let Chou come in first, and then say Royce, you can come in after.
Yeah, and I think that term itself, it's like, whether it's men or women, I think in the Black community, we've been through so much oppression, so much, challenges as a people, as a Black people globally, right? That it becomes this internal survival mode that I have to show myself as strong, or therefore I will feel, no, I'll be perceived as weak. But when you think about it, strength is not always roaring. Strength sometimes is in the silence. Strength is knowing how to ask for help, because a strong person know that they've taken themselves as far as they can on their own. And then so they rally the troops, rally other support in order to continue to be well, continue to do all that they're meant to do. Right. And so I think, in order to even address this whole mentality of strong Black men, or, strong independent Black woman, we have to start, going back to, our history that actually led to us feeling that we have to be or do a certain things, appear a certain way in order to be seen as strong. We are a strong people already just by our resilience. History speaks for itself. Not only we've been through a lot, but we also are so resilient that we're here talking about this thing, creating these platforms to have this conversation. That's what makes us strong, is knowing that we did not give up. I don't have to appear as strong in order to feel strong, right? And so, and even like society at large, no matter someone's race or ethnicity, I think the way we see, manhood is an issue. Men in general are often not allowed to show emotions. Don't you be like a girl. Don't you cry. Pull yourself by your bootstraps, right? You don't talk like a girl. You don't walk like a girl. You smile too much. It's like, no, they're human, And I know some ways you're laughing. It's like, men are just as human as female. Yes, we were differently, but just think about it. Even you and I, Comfort, were two female women, originally from Africa. I'm from Brazzaville in Congo. Yes, I live in the US now, but from Africa, but we're so different, in so many ways. And so it's not showing emotions or not showing emotion does not make me strong or weak. I think we have to normalize the conversation around just emotional health in general, and allowing even men to be men. It's okay for men to cry. Just men hurt too. Men have emotions, and they should be allowed to release those emotions just like anybody else. They need to we need to give our men permission to feel. And it starts by the way that we are bringing in our homes. How are we raising our children? Are we making, like, when it's one of the daughters are like having a bad day at school, are we sitting there with them like, I'm so sorry, oh my goodness, that's so much girl drama, and we feed into that and nurture them? And when it's a boy, they're like, oh, you know what, you're better than that, don't worry about them, you go out there tomorrow and show them who's the boss. Those type of conversations do not help our boys become men who value their mental health, become men who know who they are, and that they don't have to appear a certain way to feel strong. They just have to be themselves. And it's okay to show those emotions. So I just want to, you kind of bust that myth there, right? Because I think it's a myth. It's a myth that keeps us trapped in the stigma. It's a myth that keeps us trapped in a lot of challenges, not just mental health. A lot of challenges that continue to perpetrate the same challenges that we have for centuries and centuries and centuries, because we need to be our own people who start breaking that cycle. It starts with us.
Wow. Thank you so much, Chou. Thank you so much. That's a very good contribution. So, Sir Royce, when we say the strong black man, what comes into mind, and how do you think it can impact on our mental health positively or negatively?
Yeah, she definitely put it well. It starts with childhood, with boyhood. When you're a boy and when you fall down, you hurt your knee, you get a cut. Mama or your daddy say, "Get up, boy. Boys don't cry. Like, what are you doing? Toughen up." And you just push it down. You just keep pushing it down, and that perpetuates even as you grow. As a man, you do the same things. You push it down. You push it down. And some of those symptoms that come out, you feel irritable. You might want to, lash out. You might not want to do the same things that you used to do. Like you might like going golfing or playing softball or something, and you start losing interest in those things. So it can lead to those things. So it's really good to have an understanding of where you are, for sure.
Thank you very much. Um, I have male friends, black male friends, and black male family members, and often you see in them that maybe they may be going through something, but then they just put this massive wall up that you can't even get over to try and support them or to try and help. And I think it goes back to what you both said, that maybe it's often like the way they've been brought up. Men don't cry, man up. At the moment in the UK, there's a campaign about mental health, men's mental health, where they are talking about man down. It's okay for a man to calm down and be in touch with their feelings and their emotions and try and support them that way. Because statistically, even though what do you call it? Suicide is on the increase. At the moment, men globally are more at risk of suicide, and they are more at risk of completing suicide. So often maybe women may get the feeling to try and they'll get suicidal thoughts, and then they'll plan, and they may go through with it. But men tend to be more quite, make a rash decision and just go with it. So they are naturally in a risk group anyway. And then when we bring it down to the added risk of being a black man who's struggling with a mood disorder or depression, then we're talking about, it's a boiling pot that, if we're not careful, it's about to blow globally. So when we talk about depression in black men, we all spoke about the generic symptom of depression being low mood, constant sadness, feeling worthless, feeling like you don't belong, self-isolating, losing enjoyment and pleasure in things. We spoke about some generic signs and symptoms. When we bring depression into black men, are there any specific symptoms or signs that may be unique to black men? Do you guys have any experience, or have you noticed any maybe specific unique symptoms relating to black men?
Yeah, I can go. Do Sir Royce, do you want to go first? Okay. Yeah, and I want to piggyback on what you said earlier about like when when our men or boys, in their childhood, when it's like you fall, it's like get up, you start piling all these emotions in, right? And then over time, what built those emotion built or never been dealt with, then you have literally this pressure cooker that been building for all these years, right? And then because the pressure cooker, it's going to explode one day because it just cannot contain. It's not even possible to keep containing all these emotions. So what I see with men is that, my own sons, and like, I'm doing it different because I see this now. But, I think about, my cousins, I think about men that I get to work with and support, is that they never been nurtured emotionally, right? And so a lot of adult men, especially Black men, don't have the emotional intelligence they need to navigate the world. And that's sad. And it's not their fault. So, brother, hear me out. It's not your fault. You are not given the tools and resources you need to be all that you can be in your adulthood, because everybody thought that you could, you go to work, you bring the bacon, you protect your sisters. That's what you do. Well, guess what? That's when people get depressed also. That's what they keep doing. So depression, yes, all the symptoms, isolating and losing interest. But a lot of Black men, they start overworking. If I can just work one more job, if I can prove myself in the workplace, then I'll feel worthy, because inside internal depression tell me that I don't matter, that I'm not enough. So they start overcompensating in other areas of life instead of addressing the emotional turmoil that's going inside. All right. So that's one way. But also, and I think, sir, we mentioned this, then when we blow up, what does that look like? Anger outbursts, because we have not been taught to address our emotions, process our emotions and deal with them. So that pressure cooker keep going up, and one day it's just like, like we often say in our field, it's like you flip the lid, right, and everything comes out. And also, when so men are at that point, because they really feel like there's nothing else, I cannot show my emotion, I cannot show that I'm hurting, they start reaching out for things that are unhealthy. Drinking, substance abuse become a way to escape, to numb the pain instead of dealing with it and finding healing. And you'll find also men, because they can't find pleasure in anything else. And that's the depression part. Now they start, taking higher risk, right? And doing things that, you know them, like, that in the usual time they won't be doing. Like, they won't just be promiscuous. Let's be real, right? But at that time, that they're looking for this thrill that they're not able to get, because depression is literally numbing even both the pleasure, sensors in their brain. Right. So they're still seeking more thrill, taking more risk. And it's like buying the fast cars, right? And doing the mountain climbing. There's nothing wrong with it. But if it's someone usually does not do that every single day or every single weekend, not everything they do, it just always is high risk stuff. That's often an indication that they're running from something, running from their own feelings, running from their own pain, and trying to find anything and everything to numb the pain instead of addressing it.
Thank you very much. So Royce, over to you.
Yeah, I was going to definitely echo a lot of those sentiments. Yeah, I would also say feeling restless also from the stress, like not getting enough sleep, like literally like just being up at night, and also doing some of those unhealthy things that she mentioned, as far as seeking out drugs or seeking out alcohol as a means to cope, which only makes it worse. It makes your health worse, which also makes you more irritable. So all that stuff can build up and bubble over if it's not addressed. So it's very important that anyone that needs help, actually seeks that help out. Or if someone is around someone that they notice is acting different, talk to them, ask them how they're doing, really get to, talk and understand what's going on in their lives if you really care about them.
Okay, thank you very much. So Royce, when you were speaking, one thing that came into my mind was, I'm wondering, in your foundation, you're supporting Black men in fatherhood and parenting and things like that. Have you ever experienced a father who is going through some sort of depressive symptoms? Because I think often in parenting or in raising a child, often society puts a lot of the attention on the female or the mother, where she gets all the nurturing and all the, oh, are you okay? How are you doing? I mean, they'll call you on your phone, Sir Royce, and they'll be like, can you pass it on to the mother? You're like, how about me? Are you not going to ask how I'm doing? So culturally and socially, there's this a man is put in like the backstage when the child comes. So, it can make them feel a bit like a useless, excuse me to say, like a tool, or like not really playing a proactive role. And I suppose that's part of the reason why you started this foundation. But it'd be good to hear from you. Have you experienced any man who's struggling with this sense of worthlessness, or feeling like, what is my role in this fatherhood or in this parenting?
Yeah, that's why I'm happy to be doing the work that we're doing, because we're able to have those conversations pretty much on a weekly, almost monthly basis. We have our Welcome to Fatherhood symposiums, where we pretty much have conversations and ask questions geared towards fathers to get them to open up. Because a big part of why Black men are depressed is they're not able to really speak or even vent as to what's bothering them. They just push it down and say, I'm okay, I got it. Like you said, shouldering the load too much. So being able just to have those questions geared to open men up, and to be able to have them have those conversations about what's affecting them. Yeah, because that's a big part of what we've heard, is different men having different experiences with being a father, and being a husband also, like the different responsibilities they have to carry, and the burden can be heavy sometimes. And it's okay. Like, it's just something that we got to handle, and we got to take care of. It's our responsibility as men to be fathers, and to be, breadwinners, or providers, if you will. But we don't have to be depressed while we do it. So I'm open to talking to anybody that's struggling, and I'm definitely glad that we're having this conversation here, because it's important for us as a community to really address these issues.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone who's been here, who's still here with us on today's topic, Black men and depression. That's the topic for today, Black men and depression. Do you have a question? Do you have a contribution? Please put in the comment section, and we'll try and read through it as we go along. Thank you so much, everyone who's made a comment or asked a question so far. We'll read through them and answer them as we go along. So please keep them coming. Keep them coming. Okay, so when we talk about Black men and depression, obviously we have a plethora of different cultural backgrounds on this platform today. I'm going to relate it to myself, being from an African. I'm a second generation British. I'm in Scotland. So I was born in Ghana, and then I came here at a young age. And I often go home every so often. And it's interesting to see how they deal with mental health issues, and they have a kind of their understanding of what mental health issue is culturally can be so different across the globe. And one of the things I've noticed culturally that can impact on Black men and expressing their feelings or talking about being depressed is the fact that there's this feeling of, there's no room for argument, or there's no room for discussing the idea that he's the breadwinner in the family context. So if it's the father or the husband or whoever he is in the house, he's a breadwinner, and we're not going to argue with that. There's no taking a day off from that. You need to keep going, and that can impact on the person's or the male's mood and their stress level and their ability to manage stress. And they don't seek help because they don't think there's any point in seeking help, because it's normal to be always stressed at that level. And that stress hormone of cortisol being constantly at such a high level in our system can lead to so many physical health issues like high blood pressure, putting on weight, diabetes, skin problems, a whole lot of other physical health problems, because often whatever we are experiencing in our psychological health manifests in our physical health. And that's one thing I've noticed in my line of work. So if you're listening to us today, how is your physical health in relation to your mental health? They go hand in hand. Often when you're feeling low in mood, you can see your stomach churning, feeling like you're hungry, even though you're not hungry. When you're anxious, you feel like your stomach is bubbling, or you get diarrhea, even though you've not eaten anything that should be causing diarrhea. So our physical health and mental health are intertwined, and that's very, very important. Going on to my next question, what do you think are some of the, I know we've spoken about some of them, but what are some of the other influencing factors that can put our Black men at such a disadvantage of developing depression or other low mood disorders? I'll come to you, Sir Royce, first.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like I mentioned before, is just not being able to talk about it, or not feeling comfortable with talking about it, like not even having that comfortability. Like I mentioned, how the boy is told, like, man up. Like, as a man, that's amplified, times 10, times 100. So imagine trying to, even speak on something that's bothering you if you have that on you. So the biggest thing I think for me is just not having that outlet to speak on different things related to what you're going through as a man.
Thank you. Chou, are there any specific influencing factors that you think puts our men more at risk of developing depression or low mood
Yeah,
symptoms?
I definitely echo everything you both said. The stress of it all. Stress is silent killer. So it starts there. If I'm stressed out and I don't have an outlet to release that stress or even talk about it, it builds up, and then psychologically it starts impacting how I think, how I feel, and the rest happens. And so I think if we start kind of creating those safe places, it's good what Sir Roy and his foundations are doing, great organizations are doing, creating safe place for men to process. And even when you look at statistic, women, might be higher rate, if you want, of not of identified, quote unquote, right, with mood disorders. I think it's because women talk. Let's be real, right? We talk about it with our sisters, with our friends, with our coworkers, and it's like, and then it's easier to talk about it with the doctor, with the psychologist, with the counselor. It makes it easier that way. So I think that although the stats say the women are higher, there are a lot of unrepresented, underrepresented, men who are struggling in silence because again, we're not teaching our men that it's okay to talk about those things, and we're not creating safe places for men to talk about those things. And so those are all the barriers that we're really putting, that kind of stacking up against them. And then when you add again our history of the Black people, globally over the centuries, because of the oppression, men were also taught to be survivors, like not just survivors, but saviors. And so it's like, you protect your pack, right? You protect your tribe. You don't let anybody come and mess up with your family, whether it's your sister, your aunt, your mom, your wife, your kid. So our men are being raised with this savior complex that I'm sure somebody else probably calls it that way too, but I call it savior complex, where I would do anything at all costs, at all, whatever it would take to protect my people that matter to me. And at the end of the day, the last person that gets protected, that gets taken care of, is the man itself. So that builds up the stress. I have to provide. I have to do everything I need to do, make sure that, okay, I'm stressed out every day, then I can't talk about it at home, can't talk about it at work. I need to be strong, but that was strong men, concern there. And then what it's like, it's a train wreck ready to happen, because no human being can be all things for all people. It's just humanly impossible. Right. So let's start normalizing those conversations. Let's start giving our guys a break. Come on, they need self-care just like women do. Maybe for us, it's like all the chatting and talking with our friends. Maybe for them, let them go, shoot pool, let them go play some basketball, let them go talk with some friends. I don't know, go golfing, and submit them, just go for a drive, because they need also the ability, the time to just air their mind. We are not creating that space for men. And so it doesn't matter that if they were not taught that in childhood, it's not their fault. How are we adult women now supporting our adult men? Or brothers, or lovers, or partners, or co-workers? How are we supporting them now? I feel like we also are, again, just perpetuating the problem because we're not creating a safe place. It's okay for men also to take time off work. We can take a mental health day. It's okay, not at least they're normalizing that, dad can take off when, there's a baby born in the family, when they're getting a child. But it's not just that. The dad can take off because, he's tired. Let's be real. Let's allow a man to rest. Let's allow a man to also move at their own pace, but still creating the space for them to express themselves.
Wow.
Yes, and man, it's okay to get your feet done. Go get a pedicure. It's okay to do these things.
And a massage, yes.
Yeah,
It's very therapeutic.
Get your feet clean. When the last time you got your feet done?
That's a good question. I think that will tie nicely into when we touch on some services and interventions that we can encourage our Black men to seek and to engage in. I'll just read a couple of comments from the comment section if we don't mind. We have a question here from Phil Nomel, and any of you can take it. He says that, how do you explain that people are more depressed in the so-called developed countries than poor countries like in Africa or South America? So how do you explain that people are more depressed in the so-called developed countries than poor countries like Africa?
I can take that. Thanks for the question, Phil, and thanks for being here. So here's what we have in other countries that I think is lacking in here in the US, in the UK, more developed, quote unquote, developed country, is the social support. In Africa, you can be poor, but you know that your friend, your uncle, your sister will be next there to support you. You'll laugh, you'll cry together, you'll sit there under the tree and just talk about nothing and everything, right? Here in the US, we have this mentality to each his own, because everybody's so busy to building the American dream, just being real, right? That we lose those connections. But at the end of the day, no matter what we're feeling, no matter what we're dealing with, nobody is waiting or expecting that to rescue them from the problem. What helps, and there's a lot of, you can Google, there's a lot of research that prove your social support determines your well-being. You can go through the worst thing in your life, but if you know that you're not going through it alone, you build resilience faster. People are not there taking, like, let's say that someone dies, for example. Someone died, and with COVID, we had a lot of that going on. And it's something we cannot control. At the end of the day, we can't bring that person back. But those who had others to mourn with them recovered faster and then healthier from the grief than those who didn't. Why is even now talking about, kind of bring the COVID thing into play? Why the mental health crisis right now after, it's a whole different pandemic we're dealing with right now. All, the rate of depression and suicide and anxiety, all, substance abuse, domestic violence, all went up during COVID. Why? Isolation did that. Together we're stronger. It's not just a political slogan, together we're better. And so what I see in developing countries is that sense of community. And guess what? Healing happens in community. In developed country, we're so focused on the dollar, on the euro. We're so focused on building our lives. And some of us from developing countries, that's what we go to this country. It's like, I want a better life for myself, for my family, and so I can send money back home and take care of my siblings. I get that. Live that life too. But what I miss being here, I'll just be real. And those of you know me, I have a few friends I know are watching here. What I miss being in this country is a sense of community. I have people around me who will be there when there's a crisis. If I'm sick, people will send cards, people will send money, people will, will Uber food to your house, Uber Eats with deliver food, and somebody will pay for it. But I honestly, at the end of the day, what I maybe need the most when I'm struggling is someone to be there with me, to walk with me. And I'll share a personal example, then I'll stop here. So back in November 2020 of 2014, so I'm not coming, it's 2022, goodness, 2016, no. 4 years ago, was that 2018? I can't talk. But anyway, so 4 years ago, November of 2017, now my brain is acting. It's working for me. November of 2017, I had a stroke. And I had all the medical care that I needed here in the US. I had it all. And today, yes, I still use a cane, and physically, my left leg, doesn't do all that I wanted to do. But you can barely tell that I had a stroke. Back when it happened, I couldn't talk, I couldn't walk. My memory was way bad, worse than it just happened now. So I share this personal example just to kind of show again the power of community, right? I had all the resources that I needed to be well, but I went for depression. Why? Because I didn't have family near me. And at that time, I didn't even know that I needed this as much, because my cousin, who was coming to work for the U.S. Embassy, back in Congo, was here for a work trip. And it just happened to be that when he came, I was literally sitting in the hospital in a wheelchair. And he came, what do we do in Africa? It's like, you don't leave your brother or your sister by themselves. He's like, I'm going to lay here. I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to go to the hotel. I'm not going to go to her house. If I have to lay on the cot on the floor, I'll do that, because I want to be here for her. And that literally the very next day, I started talking again. The therapies, yes, were helping, but what literally, released that for me was a sense of community. Someone was there with me. He could not make my leg work better. He could not make my speech come back. But that sense of community reminded me that I'm not alone. If someone could do that for me, then it allows me, motivates me, inspires me to push through whatever I'm going through. That is what community does for us. That's why, even though we have, we have mental health challenges back home, and a lot of people are not getting to the point where it's so debilitating because they have community that we don't have here. Here, people will send me cards. People will, like I said, will send money. People will even bring meals to my house. At the end of the day, I just want all of us, when we go through challenges, we want someone to walk with us on that journey. Right? And I'll rest my mic there. You can all go on and on about the whole power of community, but the power of presence. Your presence is more therapeutic than anything you can do or say when someone is struggling. Your presence.
Thank you so much, Chou. Thank you so much for sharing that personal experience as well. That's very touching. And I think as our listeners, our viewers are with us here, I'm sure we're all picking something up from it. Sir Royce, over to you in terms of, when we talk about Black men and depression, what do you think is missing? Or what do you think is going on that, what's making us have this conversation today at all?
Yeah, I think like she mentioned, the lack of community, like the lack of being able to sit down and talk to somebody, is really the biggest part that's missing. Like you're really more connected to this than anything now. Like and I was talking to my colleague Dr. Young about high school reunion. Like, are you going? I'm like, no, I already see everybody. Like I think the attendance for that is going to be down like going forward, because you see all the people that you went to school with. You see when they post stuff, you see that they're happy in the pictures, but are they really happy in the pictures? You could post anything on social media to get the instant gratification, the likes, the comments, but really, are you really happy inside after you post that picture? And that's really what's happening in the U.S. in particular. We have all this access to all this information, all this data, social media this, social media that, different platforms that you can get sucked into and lose yourself. And you start looking to other people as a measuring stick, for yourself. And that can make you be depressed, like just comparing yourself to other people instead of just going outside and going into the sun, going for a walk, like just really simplifying it. So me, myself, that's why I really try to get to, just try to really just disconnect sometimes. It's okay to disconnect and go play with your kids, have those times, be present, be in the moment. That part is really, really what's missing to me, just being present in the moment.
Thank you so much, both of you. Just to add to that, one thing that this whole idea of the global South and the global North, and the idea that the global North experience depression or mental health issues more than the South is this whole depletion of services, the ability for the global South to have the resources that we in the global North have to identify the mental health issues, to assess the mental health issues, to raise awareness, and to encourage and support engagement with interventions. So often they don't have that economic resources to raise awareness about mental health issues. There are some people in Africa, they don't even know what depression is. They don't know what it looks like. They don't know how to look out for it. So there's that huge gap in awareness raising, in resources, and that can influence this whole feeling about the North are more affected than the South. For all we may know, the South are more affected than the North, just that the resources are not there to highlight that discrepancy. So I think if you are somebody on here who works for mental health services in any of whether the South and the North, just keep doing your work and keep raising awareness and keep educating people as much as possible. There's a comment here from Veronica. She says, Sir Royce, what a wonderful way to serve the community. Thank you very much. She's also got a comment here that says, strong Black woman is a lie from the pit of hell. I tell my employees all the time. I also encourage therapy weekly with my staff. Thank you so much, Veronica. Yeah, there's this misconception that strong Black man, strong Black woman. And it's a way of trying to keep us in this cage, I would say, trying to keep us constrained and restricted in our ability to engage with all manner of our emotions and seek all manner of resources. I mean, if you are strong, you don't need anything else, but we do. She's also said that, yes, I encourage therapy with Black men too. We have to not be scared to say it. If we love these people, we have to tell them. Thank you very much. And then she commented that my hubby blew a month ago, but this was me saying to him, eventually it's going to come to head. Fortunately, that point he knew he needed help, and it's now in therapy. Thank you so much, Veronica, for sharing your experience and your contribution and your advice. Really, thank you so much. I think she was referencing when we're talking about it gets to a point that some people can blow their top can blow when they hold so much in that they can't deal with it. And then there's a question here that says, how do I join? Okay, that's a question. Okay, so thank you so much. The next thing I want us to touch on briefly before we round up, and it's equally important, is resources and services and treatment for depression that are out there that our listeners can seek. Are there any treatment options or treatment approaches that, if you're a Black man and you're struggling with depression, or even if you are somebody struggling with depression, that you can access? I'll let Royce, you can go first, please.
Yeah, sure. So if you're in Chicago for Welcome to Fatherhood, we have free one-on-one counseling, access to free one-on-one counseling services. So you can reach out to myself or to my colleague, Dr. Raheem Young. We can get you connected to those services. If you're not in Chicago, we're still able to have conversations with you. We have our Welcome to Fatherhood parenting symposiums on the first and third Thursday of every month. It's via Zoom, so you can go to our website or even go to LinkedIn, look for Welcome to Fatherhood. You'll see all the information there. We have open conversations for about 2 hours twice a month. We've been doing that consistently for 3 years now. So it's really been a great way to really get a lot of that stuff out. Just to vent, just to talk. It's really been therapeutic, not just from the people that have joined the call, but even for myself, like being able to talk about certain things. So I definitely extend the invitation to anyone that's listening.
Thank you very much, Royce. So are there any treatments or services that our Black men who are struggling with depression or low mood can access?
Yeah. So one of the organization that I really, really, really like, I appreciate what Sir is doing. Is that's really good, creating those, again, safe place for people to process, to talk, to know that they're not alone, that we can come and talk about the stigma, around mental health. You can come and talk about microaggressions in the workplace for Black men, right? And it's so really making that, making those conversations, important, and prioritizing those is good. It's that safe place is good. The organization that I wanted to mention is therapyforblackmen.org, and on there you can connect another group of Black men who are going through the same stuff, the same things, but they also fund, so they can provide some funding to access mental health services. And sometimes you might not need a therapist, you might just need a coach to help you navigate stuff, and they're also actually resource lists right there. So I encourage you to go check it out. It's therapyforblackmen.org. Another organization that's similar actually to what Sir was doing, it's fathersuplift.org. And they actually, again, normalizing the conversation around mental health for fathers and their families. If you're in the UK, mentalhealth.org.uk also provides a lot of resources for minorities, in the UK to get the support that you need. So those are some platforms you can look at there. On my website, actually, our website on graceandhopeconsulting.com, if you are on the homepage, if you scroll down, you go see actually the little caption for what we're doing here right now. And underneath it, we actually embedded, one is a PDF for where you can find Black professionals, Black mental health professionals. It's mostly in the US, but a lot of them are offering things, offering support virtually. And then there's also another PDF that actually offers international suicide hotlines all across the globe. So no matter where you are, you can find out who do I need to call if myself or a loved one is struggling. So those, again, right on the homepage, graceandhopeconsulting.com. Scroll down, you're going to see Black Mental Health Matters, and there's 2 attachments that you can download. It's free. Just click download and it will download your device. So those are places you can go for, for support. So as far as when it comes to treatment, cognitive behavioral therapy is known as the number one, evidence-based treatment for depression, men or female. And so finding someone who's certified in that, I'm a certified CBT, therapist. So finding someone who's certified that can help you start rewiring your brain so that you start seeing yourself differently, seeing your situation differently, and then addressing them differently. Because what we think becomes what what we feel becomes what we do. And so kind of disrupting that cycle of what I call stinky thinking, allows us to create new healthy thoughts that gives hope, that gives strength, that builds resilience. So that's one thing. So, but if you're like, well, I'm not ready to talk to someone, talk therapy is not the only therapy. There's lots of other options. What we start engaging in self-care, even finding an outlet. Creative. If you're a creative person, start getting in touch with your creativity. Whether it's art, with painting and sculpting, drawing, anything that allows you to express yourself is also very healthy. So when you find a provider that can help you combine your creativity and CBT, that's really good. In addition to that, I think Sarah was talking about, which go out and walk in the sun, right? Nature is therapeutic. And now there's more and more research that's coming up proving that. So if you cannot be out in nature, because I know my African blood does not take the cold here in Pennsylvania either, but what I do is I learn myself, like on my app, there's a lot of nature sounds app that I listen to when I'm working. I'm listening to before I go to sleep. And that it's very soothing, but it also actually provides some of that mental, healthy mental stimulation that I need. The other thing that I actually have right now, I didn't even know we're going to talk about this, but I'll share this. You can see it's going to be very bright, but this is a light therapy. You can Google light therapy for depression, especially when it's seasonal, for people who have seasonal affective disorder in the winter and cold months. This is a good, again, it helps you just not just get, be around light, but the light is therapeutic because it tells your brain that, again, let there be light, right? I hope there's that sense that come there. But the science behind it, it's like vitamin D, the lack of vitamin D for all of us will create depression. It will help, not just your bones and joints will ache from the lack of vitamin D, but also some of us, I didn't even know I had chronic vitamin D until I was pregnant with my second child. So I have to take a vitamin D pill every single day or my mood will plummet when there's nothing wrong going on in my life. Right. So there's little things that diving to do. See your family doctor. Start asking about, basic blood work. When you have thyroid issue, low vitamin B12 also could cause depression. So there's a lot of physical ailments that contributes to depressive mood. So addressing those can be something as simple as a supplement or as simple as getting a light therapy lamp that makes a huge difference.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all these services and treatments available. Thank you very much. If I'm in the UK, I'm in Scotland, and we have the NHS, the National Health Service, which is we pay for that service through our tax. So everyone at point of contact can access that health service, which you can access psychological help and psychological treatment through that, either talking therapy, whether cognitive behavior therapy. And these days, some services are actually prescribing going outdoors as treatment. So we cannot underestimate the power of nature. We cannot underestimate the power of engaging and supporting each other in the community, in our Black community, wherever we find ourselves. I have a comment here in the comment section. I'll read it quickly. It's from Brooke. It says that I'm a Black male psychologist and appreciate you're having this program. I know that being in the field of representation matters, and I'm doing all I can to fight the stigmas for Black men and people of color. Thank you so much, Brooke, for that comment. And thank you so much for the work you're doing. I'm very much aware of time. So briefly, if each of you can summarize what you want to get out today to any listener or any person watching us, what is one thing you want to tell them or you want them to leave here with? One message or one thing that you want us to leave here with today? I'll start with you, Sir Royce.
I'm going to have the lady have the floor first. I would say talk to somebody. Really, if you're struggling with anything, even if you don't feel like talking, definitely still reach out to somebody like myself or other organizations, like she mentioned as well, and also get your feet done. I challenge every man, even if you don't have depression, go get your feet done. It'll change your life, man. I'm telling you, man. But and also smile. Smile is also a cure for depression. Even if you don't feel like smiling, if you're in your car, you're feeling like you're mad, you're angry, just force a smile. Smile for 10, 15 seconds. It'll help you instantly, I swear.
Thank you very much, Royce. Chou, can you summarize briefly what do you want us to leave here today with?
Yeah, I don't know if it's okay. I'll just piggyback quickly with what he said. Smiling, like laughter is so therapeutic that I even prescribe that to my, like, we're going to sit here and watch a YouTube video just to laugh. Because when you start laughing, you're creating, again, the dopamine, the serotonin that your brain needs to improve your mood. So yes, if you cannot find a reason to laugh, there's plenty of TikTok videos that just will knock your socks off. Go have at it, right? And with the feed comment, like, I know your personality, people might say like a side comment, but there's science behind it. Natural remedies like reflexology, like acupuncture, are helping people not just help heal from chronic pain and all that, but also from mood disorders, because you're hitting those pressure points and releasing that pressure, that stress out of your body. So that's that. So thanks for mentioning that. But I think what I want to say here, it takes a village. Right, the burden of mental health in general, it's not one that one person can take in the shoulder. So for our men, or quote unquote strong men, you are strong, but you don't have to take the weight of the world on your shoulders. You have a role to play, and we respect that, we value that, we appreciate you, but it's okay to let other people help you. Let's work in this together. Sir was saying, reach out for help. Whoever, for him, any of the organizations we mentioned, reach out those 2 PDF that I said we have on the website, so that you can find resources in your community, no matter where you are. But you don't have to do this alone. And then, like I said earlier, it starts with us. It starts at home. Let's start normalizing mental health. Let's start having this conversation at home, so we can break that stigma, so that our boys and our daughters, everyone can talk about those things without feeling like something is wrong with them. But I think also, as a Black people, let's start recognizing racism as a mental health concern. That part. Making self-care a priority, building a support system, we talk about that, and get help. It's a sign of strength. A strong person knows when they need help, so they can continue to be the strong person they are.
Wow! Thank you all so much. I think you both said it all. One thing I'll add is that I would say that it's okay to not be okay sometimes, and it's important that you recognize that in yourself, or if somebody else recognizes it in you, accept it, and then ask, how can I get help, or how can I deal with this? We need to normalize the fact that it's okay to not be okay all the time, especially for our Black men. And also, you mentioned, seek help, whether through counseling, whether through medication, whether through social therapy and community therapy, whether through self-care. Let's make time for ourselves. We have 24 hours in a day, and I want you to live here and ask yourself, in these 24 hours, how much time have I made just for myself? 30 minutes just to do something that I enjoy. Let's be mindful of that, and let us look out and be our Black men keeper, and let them know that we are here to support them irrespective of the gender. Thank you so much, Sir Royce. Thank you so much, Chou, for honoring this request to come and speak on this platform. I appreciate your time here. So today we've spoken about Black men and depression on Black Mental Health Matters, Inc. This is an amazing charity, an amazing organization that is propagating and raising awareness about Black people and our mental health. And you mentioned this racism. I think that's a whole new topic that will be talked about, because if we start on that, we will not leave here today. So thank you all so much, our viewers, our listeners, everybody that has made time to be here. Thank you so much, my guests, Chou and Sir Royce. And enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are watching us from.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Yes, thank you. You will.
Bye for now. Bye.